This is Eddie Rye Jr. sitting in for Reverend Harriet Walden. She is the founder of Mothers for Police Accountability, and she's been doing some outstanding things in the community. And I'm going to sit in for her today and try to maintain her high standards of broadcasting that she does. We have a number of folks we're going to be talking with today. We are going to start off with Winona Hollins Higgs, one of the co-founders of the Washington Equity Now Alliance, known as WINA. And Jesse Wineberry is one of the co-founders, is having emergency surgery. Y'all send some prayers up for him. It's, I think, a dental issue, but anyway, it was important enough for him to have that emergency surgery. So we'll keep Jesse Wineberry Sr. in our prayers. So, a lot of people know about Washington Equity Now Alliance for all the work they've done. But I wanted Winona, one of the co-founders, just to give us a little bit of history about it. We know that reparations and the resolution that was obtained by unanimous vote at the June 26th Washington State Democratic Convention at the Meydenbauer Center was uplifting to all. We know that Attorney Wineberry is working on a draft resolution to present to the governor's office. That's still in the works. And that's kind of tenuous because the governor has one foot out the door. The staff has resumes circulating. But I think that Governor Inslee's staff is serious because they would not be having the meetings and requesting the information they're requesting. So Winona Hollins Hauge, why don't you go ahead and give our listeners a little background about the founding of WINA, who's involved, and what issues have you guys undertaken? And I know you've prevailed on a number, so go right ahead. But you have to get off mute, though. You have to get off mute to get started. You still have to get off mute.
Thank you so much.
Nice
to get off of mute. And in deference to our queen, who does this program so well, I am just going to make sure that we let her know that I'm excited about being invited today, and WINA is happy to be here. I'm stepping in for Representative Wineberry, Attorney Wineberry is a founding person along with myself and 5 others of the WINA informational organization. Now, Washington Equity Now Alliance, WINA, is a statewide coalition, and it's combined of business, labor, civil rights, religious, LBGQ, BIPOC, seniors, veterans, disabled persons, anyone that is interested in furthering equity here in the state of Washington has been invited. We actually came into existence in an effort to make sure that we could address the I-200 issue that was presented before us at that time, to make sure that our governor Inslee could sign in a 2202 initiative that would update us and allow us to be free enough to move forward with trying to get equity across the state of Washington. Our mission and purpose is just to mobilize public education and support Governor Inslee to make sure that he signed that executive order 2202. And that way he then negated the Governor Gary Locke's former directive 9801 and replaced it with affirmative equity. And that was how we got started, and that's where we've been ever since then. We haven't stopped. We're continuing to be an advocacy agency. We meet every Saturday morning at 7:00 a.m. That is the time, and you can probably understand why maybe some of you haven't known of this organization and been on the meetings at 7:00 in the morning. But we are happy to be there. We're very active in our campaign. So what is it that we're doing right now? Well, we just worked very hard with the with the Democrats to make sure that we had a platform that was visible for reparations. And we were not the lead on that. The NAACP was the lead on the reparations task force that they put together. And they came to us in one of those 7:00 meetings and said, we need you. And they particularly needed Attorney Wineberry to get some of the writing done that needed to get it passed and get it, championed with the Democratic convention that was just held at the Meydenbauer Center a couple weeks ago over in Bellevue. Obviously, Brother Eddie Rye and Mrs. Rye, Mrs. Andrea Rye, and many other of our advocates were there. And all of us, I'm actually happens to be a delegate and a PCO for 20 some years for my community out here, and that's the Legislative District 32. So we were able to unanimously get this put together on the platform. And so now it goes to national. And the good news is it has to stop first over at our governor's desk, and that's where it is now. We have launched some meetings with the governor's staff to see about the governor signing and endorsing this this legislation that we'd like to have. And what it does is it actually creates a commission, like the commission that we have for the Commission on African American Affairs, of which I am a former member of that when Tony Orange was executive director, and then Roz was executive director, and now it's Ed Prince as executive director. I sat under all three of them. The good news is that we need a commission, formal commission with money set aside to have a study, a research on reparations as it impacts African Americans within the state of Washington. So, I mean, everybody's different. We know that California has done some great things with getting reparations, on their plate, on their palette. But what we have to do is we have to start with the governor's office. And as Brother Eddie has mentioned, the governor is going out of office. So we need to get this signed, and we need to get our Black legislators and all the legislators on board to appreciate the fact that if the Democratic Party has said unanimously, this is of value and this needs to move forward, I would think our own governor and our own state and our own legislators would get behind this effort and help us so that we can make sure that our voices are heard, and that for those Americans, African Americans who have been the victims of discrimination for land rights and for all rights, and we are the people that built the White House. Why is it that we do not have reparations is a central question that everyone should be asking. So it is, right now there's a climate of a lot of things going on politically, but we don't want to back up on what it means for us as formerly enslaved people to be able to receive reparations like others across this nation have received reparations and money and support and land rights for what has been done to their communities. And we are no exception.
And I want to say that Representative Wineberry, former Representative Wineberry, Attorney Jesse Wineberry, laid out the case, because some people said, well, Washington was a slave state. Every state has benefited from slavery, okay, because we know how that works. Now, Dr. Jeffrey has also been involved. We're going to be joined by someone else, but Dr. Jeffrey, I want to take this opportunity because you're going to be on a little later as well. But some of the work that you guys have done, you also had a film that was made, headed up by Angela Moore. And just wanted to get a quick update. We're going to come back to you for more extensive comments later, Reverend Jeffrey. But just what exactly have your efforts been?
Well, first, I want to just thank you for this opportunity, Eddie, and I want to thank what the remarks that were made before. I think that that's right on what the Democratic Party is doing, and what the organization is doing is right on. I mean, I just appreciate what I heard, and I appreciate what's going on. What we're doing, we call our project the King County Reparations Project, and what we're doing is just documenting stories of people who have been impacted by what we call, racism, or the first of all, we believe that there's a through line from slavery to Jim Crow to the 1960s, when King's movement sort of shook things up. Then the through line changed from Jim Crow to racialized eminent domain, redlining, subprime lending, um, the abatement laws, weed and seed, and then of course regressive taxation. But this is all a through line from slavery, and it's all masked, but it's all about discrimination, and it's all about the same principles that slavery hinged on, that we were criminals and that our communities could be targeted. So this through line from slavery proves the case of the fact that the whole issue of reparations can be tracked back to slavery, and we are still whites are still benefiting, and we're still being criminalized or affected by it. Even if we're not criminals, we're still affected by it in terms of our housing, in terms of our jobs, in terms of all kinds of things as related to these 5 kinds of categories. So we're documenting stories that relate to those categories and trying to show that through line.
Oh, well, the host is
So
muted.
that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. And so
Okay,
we've got a 40-minute. We finished a 40-minute piece, which is just a preliminary piece, but it is a promotional piece, and we're showing that to any group that would like to see it. And these are testimonies, and these are people who've been affected, as I said, by this through line, which can be really demonstrated historically from slavery to now. All of these elements or have one common denominator: discrimination. And the
Doc, also
abject,
go right ahead.
And the abject sort of criminalization or dehumanization. First, it was dehumanization, and then criminalization took the place of dehumanization of our community and of our people.
Yeah, weed and seed and all the rest of that stuff. Exactly.
The abatement laws, where houses were seized. Yeah.
They used to call it urban renewal, and I called it black removal because black communities were targeted for urban renewal.
Yes.
The whole racialization of eminent domain came in right after King's movement, as well as a component of the weed and seed component has to do with the fact that you can track that the way they removed Native Americans from their land was to pour whiskey into their community. And they did what they did with us was they poured drugs. But what the real thing about what they did was they used our children. They poured drugs into our children and made our children the peddlers of the drugs rather than the adults. That to me was sinister. And I think they did it because Martin used the children in Birmingham, and Martin used the children to help us get free. So they then used the children to destroy our communities, or to help destroy our communities. I mean, what we're dealing with is a very cynical and a very vindictive reality where they're not just racist; they're vindictive. If you win, they're going to create a mechanism whereby they can make you pay for winning and then take you back.
Definitely.
So all of this is a through line around the whole hermeneutic of just blacks are not inferior, or black communities are inferior, and all this tracks back to Africa. It tracks back to the whole creation of the whole principle of white privilege and colonial superiority.
Okay, we have Reverend Dr. Leslie David Braxton, pastor of New Beginnings Christian Fellowship. We also got Project 2025 happening. So, Rev Braxton, are you on board? No, he's muted. Okay. Well, there he is. He's unmuted, I guess. Rev Braxton.
I'm here with you, Eddie.
Reverend Dr. Reverend Jeffrey Sr. and Winona Hollins Hague are on right now, but we want to hear from you about Project 2025, which is, even if you look at that, reparations is essential. So go right ahead.
Well, first of all, good afternoon to all of your illustrious guests, Dr. Jeffries and Winona, and the one and the only Eddie Rye Jr. Project 2025 is the monstrous construct of the private racist chat rooms of America, like the Federalist Society, that have been grooming and tapping on the shoulders judges who are on a judicial mission. And you saw them deliver big time last week to Trump and giving him immunity. So that basically now there is someone who, as defined by the Supreme Court, is above the law, and incentivizing any other criminal elements to seek high office as a shield from criminal and civil prosecution, who I think is the antithesis of what the founding fathers would have wanted. But Project 2025 is really putting the flesh on the bones of what Mississippi Senator Trent Lott said when they asked him the question years ago, while he was still in the Senate, in response to the question of, when you guys talk about making America.
You froze up. Well, hopefully he'll become unfrozen real soon. We've also been joined by Elton Mason, and here is an example of what's happening right now in Washington State. We are a blue state, but when it comes down to African-American participation in the economic pie that all of our tax dollars create, we're still forgotten and left out. So I'm going to have to call Pastor Braxton on the phone and tell him to get on the phone so we can hear the rest of his remarks. Elton, are you on the line with us? Elton,
there we go.
Okay. We're waiting for Pastor Braxton to get back. So Elton Mason is the proof of what's happening to African Americans right now in Washington State. Even after the governor signed in 2021, African American businesses had 0.18% with state agencies. In January 2022, thankful to Winona and Jesse and Winona and everybody, the governor signed executive order. At the end of 2022, however, we went up from 0.18 to 0.22%. So, Pastor Braxton, you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Elton, hold on. So let's finish up with 2025, because this is, and we can also go with 2024, because 2025 is already in effect in some state agencies. Go right ahead, Pastor Braxton.
As I was saying, the 2025 is about giving us back 1955 America, where Trent Lott said America was at its greatest. And that was the year Emmett Till was killed. But in 1955 was also before the birth control pill and the protection for abortion rights. So women had no control over when and where and under what circumstances they had children. And if you recall, the Roe v. versus Wade majority decision at its foundation was an economic argument. It said women could not advance their education and their economic rise if they couldn't control under what circumstances in which they had children, which was the most disruptive event in a woman's life. And this is about taking women out of the marketplace and the competitive pool during their competitive years, from which they cannot recover in the main. Blocking access, 2025 says no more affirmative action or corrective justice. But we've seen the Supreme Court make exceptions in the military, because 70% of people under the age of 30 in this country are black, brown, red, and yellow. We can't field an army without the colored kids. So you can be black, blackly black all you want to when you're talking about the military. And remember those 3 bodies that came home from Iraq earlier in the year, they were all black. Get used to that, because that's going to be the result of all wars. But when it comes to the gateway to the economic and military or political elite, which is college, they want to block access. Talking about funding for private schools, religious schools, which is against the Constitution. Ending race and gender-based education in schools. They say that religion tells the story of our future, history tells the story of our past, and it's told from the perspective of the powerful. So by trying to get control of the narrative, of the story, of who we are and who we aren't, and getting into controlling what books and stuff we can read. Project 2025 is about recasting American society, protecting white privilege and dismantling the levers of rise for people who were marginalized in the past. It is protecting past privilege. And it has been fomented in the chat rooms in the Federalist Society. Donald Trump is simply the front man for this agenda. He's simply the person who was crazy enough and out of pocket enough, loosely tethered to sanity enough to get out front and be the poster boy for it. And Donald Trump understood how deeply racist half this country is. That's what he meant when he said I could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote, because he understood we have never had a consistent vision for American society. There have been two conflicting visions. We have been fighting for equality of opportunity and protection under the law, one person, one vote, liberty and justice for all. But half of the country have been fighting to maintain white privilege and a racial aristocracy. And those people committed to that political underbelly of the United States. They don't care about Donald Trump's playing with marriage, and they don't care about him being a sexual predator. They don't care about his 6 bankruptcies and as being a failed businessman. They don't care about his admission on tape of being a sexual predator. What they care about Donald Trump, the things we despise is the reason why they like him, because he's crazy and because they can put him out there to do in public what they will only say in private, so that they can wear the vestments of respectability in public, while in private seek to pursue a more racist, more misogynist, more separated American society where their privilege is enforced.
I want you guys to hear what's happening right now with our Black-owned businesses in Washington State. Elton Mason's father was J.D. Mason, the former president. He's deceased now. The independent black truckers and excavators that closed down a whole bunch of jobs. They never did have a closure quite like the ones from Mount Zion that closed down I-5 over Robert Thomas Sr. But anyway, Elton, would you please share with our folks and just go down the list on what is happening right now? You're the owner of the Washington State Sand and Gravel. Black truckers are catching the devil. They they allowed the prime contractors to hire their own inclusion manager. And they have a lady from Denver that has about 4 contracts, invite 10 black truckers to a meeting before a contract's already been awarded. So Elton, why don't you share with the folks on the screen here, these people who are in position to help do something for our businesses, share with them what's been happening to you and the black truckers.
Well, there's been a history of the Washington State with the hands-off approach, and not only abiding by the law, but for the total inclusion that on a lot of construction projects that are mandatory. It's unfortunate that there is this Grady excavating company that has been denied certification twice and magically certified. They've been profiled on King 5 News under fraud on the job. They've had somehow defrauded state and federal applications and in order to get into a program that's meant for minorities, small businesses, and people. Just levels the playing field in the construction industry. This Joseph Grady guy, with his wife, that he had his wife fill out this application, and she had absolutely no background in the construction industry. But anyhow, got certified and ended up destroying a lot of small businesses. They're in collusion with their sister company, that's KOB Construction Company, that is on every WSDOT state and federal job in Washington State.
What specifics happened to the black truckers? Share that experience.
So I guess after after they were allegedly graduated from this minority program, they had turned around and falsified information through the DES, Department of Enterprise Services, stating that they were a small company under several $1 million annually and under 51 employees, when yet even on the application, it shows they've had over 80 employees and over $100 million worth of business. But what they've done was they've allowed themselves to get self-certified through a state program that has absolutely no accountability, which has turned around and gave them another bite at the apple to ensure the destruction of not only small businesses, it's whether, you're black or white or not. This is everybody now. And to the African-American community, it's pretty much decimated our businesses. This guy's walking around with over a couple of $100 million worth of work and connected with every prime contractor in the state of Washington. And we've got an attorney general that has information in front of him and refused to prosecute this guy under the penalty of perjury. So you're talking about privilege, but yet he's got, Bob Ferguson has these ads on TV talking about he's for the best interest of our community. He's in the best interest of small business, and whatnot, so yeah, we've got a very big problem here. This Brady company's been thrown out of the program, and prime contractors still are giving this guy contracts.
And while the black truckers are selling some of their equipment so they can survive, huh?
Well, not only they're selling their equipment, unfortunately, I've been blackballed in the industry because,
Whiteball.
I'm whiteball, call it what you will, but it's unfortunate that when I stand up and expose a broken system, this is the right thing to do. Prime contractors make it they just, they don't care, they see me as a troublemaker, and which is unfortunate. Definitely wouldn't want this to happen to anyone else, but yeah, we really need to put some pressure on our attorney general that is running for governor right now. If he's allowing this one company to commit over hundreds of millions of our tax dollars, he's defrauding not only on the federal side, but on the state side.
Mm-hmm.
He's defrauding hundreds of millions of your tax dollars. I mean, and he's allowing this behavior when he has
Merrick Garland too, though. We filed a federal complaint with Merrick Garland. But anyway, what can the people on the screen? What can they do to support equity for African American contractors in Washington State?
Well, need to get a hold of their congressman. They need to vote. They need to, put the right people in the seat. In Olympia, somebody that we can hold accountable. Not just, spend their paychecks, but earn their paychecks. So yeah, people need to stand up and pay attention to this, because your children's children are being affected, by by folks that we're putting in place, to not only protect our rights, but to it's a snowball effect. It's just on and on. We really need to pay attention to what's going on and spread the word.
Now, I understand you also filed some Title VI civil rights complaints. Who were they filed against?
So I filed these complaints with the Federal Transit Authority, with the Federal Highway Administration. I've filed it with the Office of Inspector General. I've filed this complaint with the Justice Department, along with Sound Transit, WSDOT. WSDOT's got their hands in trouble before in 2012. Back when I filed a report, and now they're under a conciliation agreement. And again, we've got our hands off approach of doing the right thing.
Okay. Oh, Elton, we're gonna keep folks posted. So you've given us a good idea of what's happening, but the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't have a personality. So Elton, thank you very much, man. And
Right on.
we'll be in touch.
Be back. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, well, I think we're supposed to take a break. Everybody hold on for 1 minute.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
All right, Eddie Rye back at the Mother's Justice Show, sitting in for Reverend Harriet Walden. I have Reverend Dr. Robert L. Jeffrey Sr., pastor of New Hope Missionary Baptist Church, founder of the Black Dog Days Task Force, one of the leading advocates for reparations for African descendants of the United States enslaved. Winona Hollins, who is one of the co-founders of the Washington Equity Now Alliance. They've been real active in trying to get equity for African Americans and other underrepresented folks. And Reverend Dr. Leslie D. Braxton, pastor of New Beginnings Christian Fellowship in Kent, and also an advocate on many social issues. I don't know, many years ago when he was the pastor of Mount Zion Baptist Church, in response to the unjustly killing of Robert Thomas Sr. by an off-duty King County sheriff who had a gun and not his badge or his hat. So that march left Mount Zion and went on to I-5, led by pastors who tricked the police at that particular time to get on the I-5. And I got a call from the late Bill McIntosh. Man, I'm in Dallas and you guys interrupted the NBC News in Seattle. But anyway, that's what it takes. And I remember Reverend Jeffrey hadn't been here that long at all and had a shanty built in front of Boeing to protest apartheid in South Africa. So we're talking about some activists who lead by example, and Winona has been out there for days. Matter of fact, she's probably one of the busiest people I've ever seen in my life, and all the organizations she's belonged to, and she shows up at everything. So it was good to see you at Linda Thompson Black's 70th birthday party last Friday as well. So let's go back to Pastor Braxton to talk about some strategy and how we can get the word out, because we need to educate people about Project 2025. And if anybody told me that they're a registered voter and they work for me and they said they wasn't going to vote, they wasn't going to work either. Not for me. And people really got to take this seriously. Your vote does make a difference. So Pastor Braxton, why don't you do an analysis of this primary that's coming up, the presidential primary. You've already let us know, and I think we all know the dangers that Project 2025 is, and I guess former President Donald Trump is trying to say he's not with Project 2025, or he's not going to be the face of it, or we know he's a liar anyway, but your perspective on that.
Well, people run to represent parties. Parties promote policies. Policies have certain outcomes, and you should vote based upon the outcomes that you desire. If you want to turn America back, go for the party that has allowed an aid and comfort for white grievance. If you want to inch forward toward becoming a more perfect union, go for the party that promotes inclusivity, empowerment, agency, justice, and equity. And so Project 2025 is about recasting American society backward. We've got to restore the winning coalition, the Obama coalition, the Biden coalition of the last election. Remember, Biden only won by a total of 20,000 votes in 4 battleground states. 20,000 votes in 4 battleground states. He won Georgia by less than 11,000. And so forget about the popular vote. Our presidency is along the Electoral College. And one of the groups he's failing with, Biden is failing with, is the youth. And the worst part about his debate performance is when he boasted of giving Israel anything that they want. That was the death blow. I said to myself watching the debate, it's over right now. If Mr. Biden would step aside, and sometimes love releases. If he would step aside, because 4 years ago, he was the only person who could beat Trump. 4 years later, he may be the only person who could lose to Trump. If he would step aside and allow us to use time to our benefit, a new candidate untethered from his unconditional support of the government of Israel in its illegal prosecution of this war against Hamas and this war on the people of Gaza, we might be able to woo the young people back in, because remember, 50% of American society now is under the age of 40, and all the people, 70% of the people aging into the electorate are Black and brown and red and yellow. We cannot win the young people with Biden's stubborn, unflinching, unconditional support of Israel. We have got to nuance that policy, and our support of Israel must be conditioned on them complying with international law and being consistent with American values, all of our allies. And so to defeat Project 2025, we must win. We must win. And we have to put up a candidate that gives us the best chance of winning. Are there any guarantees in winning? No, but there are some probabilities in failing. And a president who won by the hair of his chinny chin chin when his coalition was together, and now 4 years later, we're not even talking about his platform, we're talking about his competence. We're talking about his competence more than we're even talking about the maniacal and diabolical schemes and lies of who he's running against. You have to eliminate the distraction. And you can't push the issues when you become the issue. I love Joe Biden, but he has become the issue. And he is going to lose if he stays in the race, because we cannot pull together the coalition to a winning coalition if he stays in.
Well, his latest statement has been, take me on at the convention. So he don't know it. He might be asking for something that he might have to face. But I want to get a response from Reverend Dr. Rev L. Jeffrey and then from Winona about the same issue.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a little ambivalent about what should be done. I mean, I think he had a crazy, terrible debate. I mean, I think his issue with the Palestinians is terrible. I mean, I support the Palestinians' right to their own to a two-state solution. I've always done that. I've lived in Palestine for at least a minute, with Palestinian families. I mean, these are good people. I mean, they've been oppressed for a long time, and they've been under the gun for a long time. I mean, after the Intifada, they were just using rocks to try to stop the brutal force of the Israeli police, and they still. I mean, a few days before what happened on October 7th, the police had gone into a mosque with guns, and they totally disrespecting the religious rights, the social rights, the political rights of the Palestinian people. And I think that has to stop. I mean, nobody's for terrorism, whoever's doing it, but we're totally against the total, complete annihilation of a people, women and children. I mean, hospitals. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, it's insane. Anybody else who was doing this would be ostracized by the whole world, including the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a pox on our house for not doing that. I think that we're going to live to regret what we're doing, the policy. But, I think that my fear of Trump and what they represent, what the Republican Party represents, kind of pauses me and freezes me in this issue of Biden. I don't know if bringing someone in will solve the problem. I think that the problem is that they're going to use a cover up. They're going to say, you covered up this. You mean the person who they bring in covered up this, and can you trust people who cover up? And I mean, they're going to still tie the Democratic Party to this Palestinian thing. And even though Trump said he would, even though Trump was worse, he said that Israel should finish the job, whatever that means. I don't know what he means. I mean, that's insanity. Broadcast live on TVs. But the issue is nobody is talking about that. And as Dr. Braxton said, everybody is talking about Biden. And it's almost like it's being orchestrated by the higher ups on these broadcast networks
Mhm.
to force him out with the belief that if he leaves, capitulates, that somehow the Democrats will win. I don't necessarily believe they will. I think that will be, to me, a mistake. And I sincerely, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a political analyst. God knows I'm a pastor. So what the hell do I know? But I do know this. Capitulation
That's
never
a pretty good
wins.
one. That's a
People
pretty good one,
pile
Dr.
on.
Jeffrey. That's a pretty good one.
People pile on.
No, you know a
People
lot.
pile on.
No,
Huh?
you know a lot, Pastor Jeffrey. You know a whole bunch.
Capitulation never wins. People
Yeah.
pile on.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about Trump's insanity.
Yeah.
Something to be said about his never capitulating, even though he was accused of rape, even though he was accused of molestation, even though he's got a trial. There's something to be said about the absence of capitulation in American society. American society sees capitulation as weakness and unforgivable weakness. They always have. And they always will. There's something about this masculine, this masculine genetic thing that, we macho, we go on to the end, we march up the hill, even though all of us are slaughtered. It's something about that mindset that is an American reality. And I'm saying that it might look that we could bring in somebody, and you could, not we could, you can bring in somebody more as qualified or more qualified than Biden, but you will never erase the stench of capitulation, and they're gonna beat the Democratic Party to death with that. That they are cowards. They're gonna call them cowards. They're gonna call them weak. How can you trust people who should have known better, and then when they get in the middle of a fight, they lay down and say no mas. That's what they're gonna say.
Well,
and they're gonna fight it with, we got a man who never gives up, even though he's a crazy man, an insane man, a man who has done everything under the sun. He can still look in the camera and say, I'm not giving up. So they see that as strength.
And you got 50% of America.
This is stupid. This is stupid stuff. I mean, I'll be the first to say this is stupid stuff. A rational mind does not think like this. But this is America. This is America.
This is America.
We do not live in a rational country. We live in a country that is totally irrational. That keeps its best minds in poverty, keeps its best people excluded, who ostracizes people who don't do anything but love America. There have never been a black terrorist. There have never been black terrorism in this country. No blacks have ever blown up anything. And yet we're the ones that's hated. And they bring in people who are potential terrorists to take our place. I mean, this is irrational behavior. We're living in an irrational country, and somehow we have to deal with that irrationality and understand what it is. But one thing I do know as a black man, capitulation in this country does not get you any merits. It gets you death.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Jeffrey. Winona, and then Hayward Evans has joined us too.
Oh,
wonderful. Go right ahead, Winona.
Yeah, I would just like to say I do agree with both of the pastors that definitely we are in catch-22. Actually, it's like, which way do we go? Well, either way you go, you're caught up in the middle of it. But as Black people, as descendants of slaves, we cannot afford to be brought into either one of these camps. We're going to have to come out in the middle of this and say, you know what? The Black vote is what got Biden into the White House, and the Black vote can keep Biden into the White House. Now, I don't think we can get the rest of the people on board quick enough with a new candidate. That's my personal opinion on that. I think we brought Biden there. He would not be there. And we only put him there because of our vote and because
it was 4 years ago.
That's right. But that was promises he made for our communities, which I doubt that we can say that those have all been kept. But we did get Kamala as a vice president on that ticket.
And we got a Supreme Court justice.
Right. And we got a Supreme Court justice. Yeah. And many of our organizations, like, all of our organizations, we got together like nobody could imagine. You know, I'm talking about Lynx and Delta and Jack and Jill and all of the Black coalitions. We came together and we were working together, and we have got to get back to that.
Yeah, well, you know what?
trouble.
Those organizations need to talk to the young folks who are dismayed and
About the war.
dissatisfied with the Biden administration, and they're really dissatisfied with what they see with their own eyes in Gaza, where not only have 38,000 men, women, a whole bunch of women and children have been killed, but where are they going to move back to? They have completely destroyed the infrastructure because they had no intentions of having a two-state solution. And if there's nothing, no structures left, there's no place for them to live. And then to hold up humanitarian aid like food and stuff. Hayward, are you still on the line?
No, he's not.
I guess he clicked. Okay, because there's some information regarding the Treasury Department having, there's going to be a webinar tomorrow, and I'll get it up on my Facebook page. And it's about the Treasury Department having money for infrastructures, particularly for houses of worship. So that was something that I wanted him to remark on. But
yes.
Well, no, I mean, you've been out there in politics for a long time, but
I have been.
I am dismayed by like the Supreme Court has given Biden the ticket to do whatever he needs to do. And I've not heard one plan of anything on how he plans to use the Donald Trump directive that was passed on by the Supreme Court. Hayward, are you back?
Oh, I'm here now. Yeah, I had to switch.
Okay, well, anyway, Reverend Dr. Rev Jeffrey, Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton, Winona from Winona is on. And I don't know if you read the information I sent you. You can report on it or not, or you just saw it.
Oh, yeah, on Adam Smith, yes.
Okay, can you share, let folks know what that's about?
Well, yeah, we have a meeting coming up on, let me pull it out here. Adam Smith is going to be hosting a meeting with the Washington State Department of Commerce, Puget Sound Energy, and the city of Seattle, City Light. And they're going to be presenting information on how to get a variety of home energy rebates and incentives. There's a lot of programs that are available right now. And the event's going to take place on July 9th. That's Tuesday at 5:30 tomorrow at 5:30 p.m.
Is that a webinar?
Yeah, it's a webinar.
Okay.
And I don't have the registration number in front of me.
Okay. So anyway, I want to make sure that we could get that information out. And then also, there was one program we were working with Reverend Dr. Linda May Smith over at Martin Luther King Memorial Baptist Church. And the people went kind of slow, and Bob Armstead, our president of the National Association of Minority Contractors, had to file a Title VI complaint because we keep hearing these offerings out, but when it comes down to actual implementation, we see very little happening. So also, we were talking about the resolution that's being drafted by Jesse Weinberry right now to establish a commission to study reparations for African descendants of United States slaves in Washington State. Now, I know there's also been some talk about, well, there are other slaves from other places, but, if they went to Brazil, they need to deal with the Spanish government or the Portuguese government. If they went to any of the French or British colonies, they need to deal with the French and the British for their reparations. So that's my thought process and how this should flow. I don't think any descendant of the United States, any descendant of slaves need to be shortchanged no matter where they are. But if we do our job right in the United States in terms of our reparation stuff, we can share it with other African descendants in other countries. But I don't think
exactly.
I don't think, so that's mine. And then Reverend Jeffrey and his committee have been working on reparations for King County. And then now we have this resolution that Jesse Weinberry is drafted to go to Governor Inslee's policy people to have a commission established with a budget to do what needs to be done to ascertain what we can get for African Americans who are descendants of the United States enslaved. At one time they said, "Oh, you can't tell." Well, 23andMe, they shot a hole and all that.
Yeah.
And I know I have cousins down in Louisiana going through all the parish county records because they have a whole bunch of handwritten stuff in those places. but they just never have been given up freely. So,
Well,
hey,
yeah, Eddie, if I may,
ahead.
I just want to comment that I think Winona, absolutely great, and I'm so appreciative of you. And also Reverend Jeffries, come on, I love going to your church, and Reverend Lanisha, I wish she was here today as well. And Reverend Braxton, what you said, especially in terms of equality of opportunity, and folk better get real about this man running to be president who's a Republican nominee. This is very, very real what's going to transpire. And regardless of if it's Biden or not, this has a long-term impact on Black folk. And if you think this man's going to step up there and embrace Black folk, think about anything with reparations, you're entirely wrong. And you know this. And I keep looking at what Sotomayor said in her statement as the dissenting vote. And she made the statement, she fears for the democracy of America if Donald Trump gets in there. Come on. This is very, very real to the listenership. And we better get together. And Elton Mason, come on, Elton. Been knowing you, worked with your dad. We're going all the way back. Yeah, you're right. We better look at equity. Equity is what it's about, making sure that we level this playing field, and we haven't. And so to the listenership, Winona, 7 a.m. is not that early. And I apologize for not being there yet. I'm going to qualify that statement. Yeah.
Hey, Eddie, I wish I could get on a bus or a plane with Winona and Pastor Jeffries and leave Blue State, Washington, and from now till the election go in one of these battleground states where to affect that outcome, because I'm frustrated being up here in Washington where we know what the outcome is going to be, although we do have some local down ballot races, but I'm trying to scream across the country to friends, colleagues, and others in out of state. I wish I could take a sabbatical and just push turnout.
Yes, that's it.
I agree with everything Dr. Jeffrey says. We have 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
Yes.
I'm going to vote Democrat no matter if we got, as the lady said, Biden's head in a jar over this racist, demagogue, misogynist, self-admitted sexual predator, 91 times indicted, twice impeached, 34 counts of felony. I'll vote for Deputy Dog's head because of what he's going to do. So the Black people are going to vote for him. But here's what we need to say to our young people. And I'm just saying to them here.
Yes.
Who are legitimately frustrated by our policies and Gaza and so forth. And people like Pastor Jeffrey and I, we've been preaching this for decades. There's a difference between a flawed friend and a real enemy.
Yes. Yes.
So we blew in the face.
Yes.
Issues with Biden. I got some issues with Biden. Whoever we put up, and you can point to them. Ain't none of them perfect across the board. But there's a difference. A flawed friend will piss you off, will irritate you, but you can fall out, fall back in. But the enemy is trying to kill you.
Yeah, well, you know, we're out of time. We're out of time. We're out of time. So I want to thank Reverend Dr. Robert L. Jeffrey, Winona Hollins Hague from Winona, Reverend Dr. Leslie Braxton, New Beginning.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Braxton. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Community Coalition.
Thank you, Winona.
You're welcome. We're not done with this conversation, though.
We got to take a sabbatical and go to Michigan.
We just done a date. I guess at 3 o'clock, they're going to play the reparations program we had for July 4th. So anyway, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for the struggle, because that's what it's going to take. And please pass it on and try to encourage them young ones to get involved.
Amen. Yes.
Thank you, Eric.